When people find out that I have stage 3 appendix cancer, they are almost universally caught off guard. I don't exactly look like someone you might expect would have a potentially fatal diagnosis like this, given my physical appearance for one, and then just my age in general. I'm 38 years old. I want to talk about the 2 responses I do like and appreciate and why, and the 2 responses I don't care for and why, with the hopes of educating or at least bringing insight as a cancer patient to those that might hear about someone with a cancer diagnosis or know someone who has a cancer diagnosis and is going through it. I want to thank Huel for sponsoring this video. I am someone who's been battling cancer for 8 months. It's been exhausting. And I have to admit, something I've had to work really hard to do is stop putting junk food in my mouth when I feel sad. That's where Huel comes into play for me. It is a nutritionally complete food. It is affordable and it is very tasty. I'm an athlete as well. I own a CrossFit gym. This is where the Huel, for me, the Black Edition chocolate powder, is absolutely perfect. The Huel Black Edition powder contains all the nutrients the human body needs, including the right amount of protein, essential fats, carbohydrates, fiber, vitamins, and minerals as part of a balanced diet. So try Huel today and see what problem it might solve for you using NOAH15 as a discount code, which you can see on screen here. It's also in the video description below, or you can scan the QR code for greater ease for 15% off your next order. If you click the link below, you'll also find greens and superfoods, vitamin and energy drinks, high protein snacks, ready to drink meals, and then different bundles if that suits you. They have a quiz feature that you can take in order to find out what might be best for you. And now back to the video. Let's talk about the one that I think is the most problematic and the one that initially in my cancer experience was the most upsetting. It really was tough for my brain to handle this response from people, although it's gotten much better now. Something that comes up so much more often than I ever would have imagined is a knee-jerk reaction for someone to tell me when they find out that I have cancer about someone that they know or they are close with that not only had cancer, but that passed away. This is actually something that I've learned is an unhealthy but knee-jerk reaction to hearing someone talk about something painful and difficult in their life. Sometimes we as people want to meet them right where they are, or maybe bring up something potentially even more difficult, which ends up seeming like you're doing something to, I don't know, make it about you as opposed to about the person who's sharing. I've done this in the past. I try not to do it anymore because I don't think it's a healthy response, but I do think it's a pretty normal, common response, but I don't like it. If someone with cancer tells you they have cancer and your first reaction is to let them know about someone who died that you know who had cancer, you're going to probably instill, at the very least, apathy and ambivalence in the person who has cancer, who just was vulnerable enough to tell you. And at worst, you're going to scare them. And we as cancer patients have enough to be scared about. Trust me. There's so much unpredictability and there's so much conjecture as to what to do and how to do it, and negative charged discourse about treatment plans and what works and what doesn't, that I know, for me at least, I have played the tape through to my very end many times. And if anything, I need to be encouraged and reminded to stay here, stay present, and to have faith and have belief that I can be okay, rather than have someone reinforce the fact that this is a potentially fatal diagnosis. Trust me, we know. Cancer patients know that. It is not comforting for me to find out that someone you loved died of cancer. That being said, it's always heartbreaking for me, and I do empathize with the loss of someone else. But I just don't believe it's the time and place to tell the cancer patient who's currently battling cancer that you know someone, or you cared for someone, or you loved someone who died. That is something I think is better served or suited to talk with a personal friend or someone close to you, not the person who has cancer currently. I would encourage you that if that's what comes into your mind, to pause, to think about how hearing about such a terrible outcome might impact that person, and to think what you might say instead. The other response that people give me that I don't love is that when they tell me that I'm going to be fine, without knowing anything about my cancer, they just go, "You're going to be fine. Oh, you'll beat that, no problem. Not even going to be an issue. Live your life." To me, I think it's dismissive or something. I think it's potentially ignorant too. And I think it sweeps under the rug the reality of my cancer and the fact that we don't know what's going to happen and that many people do pass away. It seems to me like when people do that, I always wonder if they're saying it mostly to make themselves feel better about the news. Like it's easier to respond to me with, oh, dude, you're going to be fine. You're going to beat this, no problem. Not a chance that this gets you. It seems easier to say that than to meet me at the breaking point of the hard aspects of this. Like to meet me in the contention of fear, to meet me in the reality that this is potentially very dangerous and maybe fatal. I would rather people go there with me because that's where I spend a lot of time, whether I want to or not. Imagining the end, thinking about how it will be, will it hurt, who will be around me, what is it going to be like when I go. I have to process all these things personally in order to actually stay present, live my life day to day as I try to fight through this. I can't just tell myself, oh, I'm going to be fine. I'm young, I'm healthy. Look at the access to medical care I have and all of the possible treatment options. Like that stuff is certainly amazing. I literally thank my lucky stars for that every single day, all day. I pray about it. I'm grateful, of course. But that doesn't supersede the fact that I could die from this. And I don't necessarily appreciate when people act like that's not a possibility. And it's not that I want people to say, oh, dude, you could die from this. That's not what I'm saying. But I do think telling me that you don't think I will die without knowing anything about what's going on with my cancer in particular, certainly different. Like if my dad tells me I don't think you're going to die, I get where he's coming from. He knows what's going on. But when people don't know anything about it, I think it kind of minimizes the difficulty of this experience. And I've always just not cared for it. It's kind of I almost feel nervous to admit that because I do believe it's coming from a good place. So, of course, these are my opinions. What would I prefer and what do I prefer? I really, really like when people share stories of hope. That does uplift me. So instead of telling me that they know someone who died, I love hearing stories about people who lived. And I think the more I can hear about that, the better. So-and-so went through this diagnosis, did this treatment, they stayed brave, they stayed close to God, they huddled in with their friends and family and they beat it. I think stories of encouragement and hope and perseverance and survival are really, really, really soothing. I wake up and read stories about people that are going into remission or have gone into remission every single morning to start my day, to remember that that could happen for me too. And I think those are stories that we should be telling people and celebrating. And just to backtrack again, this is not to say we shouldn't tell stories of people that left or we should forget about them. That's not true. We should tell those stories and keep their life and their legacies and their meanings to us alive. Just, I don't think we should be keeping those alive directly with someone who's battling cancer at that time. I think those conversations should be shared with two people that are healthy as far as they know and aren't currently trying to process their mortality. But stories of hope, bring them on. Stories of recovery and remission, tell them. Things like that are really relatable for me as a cancer patient. And in the darkest hours of the middle of the night when I can't sleep and I'm processing and I'm feeling a bit sad about the fact that maybe I won't be around to do this or see that or be a part of something, I hold on to those stories of remission and I read those stories of remission, not to color my situation pink, but just to be reminded not to be overly morose or overly concerned with death. And then lastly, a type of response that I really appreciate are the ones that are just quiet. Honestly, the ones that are just calm, quiet, and concerned and sincere. Let me see if I can give you an example. I told this guy, it came up in conversation when he asked me what was going on with my life, that I had cancer. And he gave me a response, something akin to, that must be really hard. I'm sure it's been very difficult. I'll be rooting for you. I'll be praying for you. I'm going to hold your wellness in my belief. Things like that, you know. Somewhere in the middle of, oof, that must be scary, and oof, I think you can do this. Somewhere that just sort of makes room for the good and the bad, the scary and the not scary parts of this. Those are my favorite responses. Because they feel real, they feel genuine, and it feels like they're willing to take on some of that fear with me. When someone doesn't immediately jump to, you're gonna be fine. But when someone's just like, damn, that's tough. That must be hard. How are you coping? Ask me a few questions. Let me know you're there for me, you believe in me. And just sit there and hold space with me. I think that's the one. I think that's absolutely the one. This is an interesting topic, and I really hope that I didn't stir anyone's emotions in a negative way. And I hope I maybe gave you some new ideas on how you might respond, but everyone's different. Everyone has every right to respond to these things however they do. Now you know what I'd prefer. And I'd really love to hear what you guys think about this. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What are some typical responses as cancer patients that you hear that are uplifting or at the very least not upsetting? And what are some of the ones that don't make you feel so great and you don't appreciate? For whatever it's worth, also, I'm not a victim and I don't judge others for how they respond. And other than like hormonal dumps that were happening in the early days of hearing people's stories regarding people they know who have passed away, I've gotten much better, and I've learned to process and I've learned to calm my emotions and stay in a very parasympathetic state of being. Not my fight or flight, but my rest and digest state of being. I've really learned to do that. So I can hear people now respond that way, and I don't feel much of anything. But in the early days, it was really tough, and I didn't appreciate it, and I wish they wouldn't do it. And so I did think it was worth talking about. It's a weird one to talk about, though. Know that I appreciate you. All the cancer patients out there, hang in there. Thank you for supporting me, and all the cancer patient caretakers and all the people who love and support people with cancer. Take care of yourselves too. Thank you for being there for us. Thank you for being consistent and kind to us and for walking with us through this very difficult thing. I also want to say that I'm not here to judge or lambast or put down how anyone responds to anything when it comes to unusual information or difficult or sad information like being told or finding out someone you know or are close to has cancer. We're all doing the best we can here. So please take this in the spirit it's intended, which is just to bring more insight, more emotional awareness, and perhaps influence how some people respond to other cancer patients in the future to help them have a better experience in that communication, okay?